Let's dive right into it. Number 7. The poison potato. Have you ever gazed at a potato and thought, this tuber could finish me? No. Well, you probably should have. You've been told your entire life that potatoes are a wholesome staple, a dependable side dish, the starchy foundation of fries and chips. But here's a dirty little secret. Potatoes are part of the nightshade family, the same botanical clan that includes deadly stuff like belladonna and mandrake. And potatoes under the right, or I guess wrong conditions, can produce their own little arsenal of toxins called glycoalkaloids. The most famous of these is solanine, and it's basically the potato's security guard. It's normally concentrated in the leaves and stem, but if a potato gets exposed to light, it starts freaking out. It begins producing chlorophyll and turning green, and this green skin is a big flashing sign that solanine levels are on the rise. We're not talking about a little tinge of green either. We're talking about a significant amount. A potato with a lot of green on it is basically a tiny unassuming biohazard. Now, before you go tossing out your entire pantry, a normal ungreened potato has very low levels of solanine. You'd have to eat an ungodly amount of perfectly prepared mashed potatoes to feel anything. But a potato that's been sitting in the sun on your kitchen counter for a few weeks, starting to look a little sad and green, that's a different story. The solanine gives it a bitter taste. Your body is smart enough to pick up on this and scream, "Danger! Will Robinson!" If you ignore that bitter warning and decide to play culinary Russian roulette, you could be in for a rough time. Symptoms range from nausea and headaches to hallucinations, and in extreme cases, paralysis and death. So the next time you're cutting up potatoes and you see that suspicious green hue, don't just slice it off. And the poison isn't a surface-level issue, it's a structural one. Don't be a hero. Just throw the potato away. Your life is worth more than a single potato. Number 6. Nutmeg's psychoactive mystery. You probably think of nutmeg as that cozy, innocent spice you sprinkle on eggnog during the holidays, or maybe a dash in a pumpkin pie. It's a warm, familiar scent, right? Something Grandma approved. But beneath that wholesome exterior, nutmeg is harboring a seriously weird dark secret. When consumed in large quantities, this little spice can mess with your head in a way that's anything but festive. It contains a compound called myristicin, which when ingested is metabolized by your liver into something with a chemical structure similar to MDMA. Yes, you heard me right. The spice in your spice rack could technically be an amateur hallucinogen. Now, I'm not saying you'll have a psychedelic trip on par with an LSD experience, but a tablespoon or more of this stuff can lead to an incredibly unpleasant, drawn-out high. The onset is incredibly slow, often taking hours to kick in, which is just enough time for you to think, maybe I didn't consume enough of this stuff and double down. And the effects, they're not exactly a walk in the park. We're talking about a cocktail of nausea, dizziness, dry mouth, and a feeling of impending doom. There are reports of intense paranoia and confusion, auditory and visual hallucinations, and a complete loss of sense of time. This high can last for days, and it's not a fun party. It's more like a prolonged, miserable fever dream. People have tried this for kicks only to regret it for days, stuck in a state of delirium. So, the next time you're thinking of getting creative in the kitchen, remember that even the most unassuming spices have a dark side. A pinch is a pleasure, but a spoonful is a punishment. Number 5. The almond that wants to destroy you. Let's talk about almonds. They're the poster child for healthy snacks. Crunchy, full of healthy fats and protein, and they make great milk for your oat, soy, hemp, whatever latte. You probably feel good about yourself for eating them. But what if I told you that in their natural state, some almonds are basically nature's little poison packets? I'm not talking about the almonds you get from a store, which have been cultivated for hundreds of years to be mild and delicious. I'm talking about their wild ancestors, the bitter almond. These guys are no joke. Bitter almonds contain something called amygdalin. When you chew on one, the amygdalin mixes with an enzyme in your saliva, and together they produce a wonderful life-threatening compound, hydrogen cyanide. Yes, the same stuff used in some of the more unsavory chapters of human history. The smell is a dead giveaway, a distinct bitter scent often described as similar to marzipan, or sometimes cherry pits. Ironically, this is the very flavor that makes things like almond extract so appealing. In reality, that's just a hint of the underlying danger. Eating even a small handful of these wild almonds can be fatal. The cyanide attacks your cellular respiration, essentially shutting down your body from the inside out. Your cells can't use oxygen anymore, and they start to suffocate. It's an ugly way to go, and it's why bitter almonds have been a notorious poison since ancient times. So the next time you're happily munching on a handful of almonds, just remember you're enjoying the results of centuries of careful cultivation that turned a deadly fruit into a delicious snack. Your store-bought almonds are a testament to humanity's ability to selectively breed the poison out of its food. You are in a very real way eating a domesticated killer. Number 4. The cherry pit's hidden. Surprise. Cherries are a quintessential summer treat. They're sweet, juicy, and perfect for spitting pits at your sibling. But what if I told you that the innocent little pit you just launched across the backyard is actually a ticking time bomb of toxicity? Just like their almond cousins, cherry pits, along with the pits of peaches, apricots, and plums, contain amygdalin. This means that if you were to chew up and swallow a significant number of these pits, say by trying to make a super healthy pit smoothie, or just by being a weirdo who likes to chew on hard things, you're basically signing yourself up for a nasty case of cyanide poisoning. The good news is that swallowing a whole pit is generally harmless. The hard shell protects the inner part, and it will just pass through your digestive system like a tiny smooth rock. But if you crush, chew, or otherwise break open the pit, you release the amygdalin, and your body's enzymes get to work, transforming it into hydrogen cyanide. Symptoms of cyanide poisoning include anxiety, dizziness, confusion, and nausea, followed by more serious issues like respiratory failure, a drop in blood pressure, and eventually a coma. The amount of amygdalin in a single cherry pit isn't enough to kill you, but eating a handful of crushed pits would be a very bad idea. The pit itself is literally a defense mechanism for the fruit. It's the tree's way of saying, "Hey big guy, eat the tasty part, but don't try to mess with my offspring." So, next time you're enjoying a bowl of cherries, just remember that the sweet, delicious fruit is the offering, and the pit is the price of admission if you're not careful. Number 3. The fugu disaster. You've probably heard of fugu, the Japanese pufferfish that's a delicacy so dangerous it requires chefs to undergo a multi-year apprenticeship just to learn how to prepare it without, killing their customers. Fugu is the food equivalent of playing Russian roulette, but with chopsticks. The reason it's so lethal isn't the fish itself, but the organs inside it, specifically the liver, ovaries, and eyes. These organs contain a neurotoxin called tetrodotoxin, which is up to 200 times more poisonous than cyanide. Yeah, that's not a typo. It is so potent that the amount of tetrodotoxin in a single pufferfish is enough to kill 30 adult humans. And here's the worst part. There is no known antidote. The toxin doesn't just make you sick, it paralyzes your nervous system. It basically starts shutting down your body while your brain stays completely aware. It begins with a tingling sensation around your mouth, which quickly spreads to your whole body, turning into total paralysis. You can't move. You can't speak, but you're still completely conscious. You're a prisoner in your own body, aware of the slow suffocation as your diaphragm becomes too paralyzed to move, stopping your breathing. Eating fugu is an experience that's all about the thrill. The tiny, carefully prepared amount of toxin left on the fish is designed to produce a subtle tingling numbness on the tongue and lips, a sign that the chef has successfully walked the line between delicacy and disaster. It's a flavor profile that literally warns you of its own danger. It's a terrifying testament to human curiosity and our willingness to flirt with death for the sake of a unique culinary experience. Number 2. The rhubarb encounter. Most people think of rhubarb as that tart celery-looking vegetable that makes a great pie filling when mixed with a ludicrous amount of sugar, and a few strawberries. But you should know that you're only eating half the plant, and for very good reason. The stalks are perfectly safe, but the leaves of the rhubarb plant are a completely different story. They are packed with oxalic acid, a corrosive chemical that can cause serious damage to your kidneys and digestive system if ingested in large quantities. Oxalic acid is a nasty little compound that can bind with calcium in your body to form crystals. These crystals can then clog up your kidneys, leading to kidney stones or even kidney failure. And because it's a strong acid, it'll also wreak havoc on your mouth and throat, causing a painful burning sensation. Now, you'd have to eat a significant amount of rhubarb leaves to suffer fatal consequences. We're talking a few pounds, but even smaller amounts can cause nausea, vomiting, and abdominal pain. Back in the day, especially during wartime shortages, people would sometimes mistake rhubarb leaves for a different edible green, leading to some very unpleasant and sometimes deadly outcomes. So next time you're harvesting rhubarb from your garden, remember to chop off the leaves and toss them in the compost. They might look like a harmless green, but they're a leafy reminder that in the world of plants, looks can be deceiving. Number 1. The perilous dangers of the starfruit. Starfruit, or carambola, is that beautiful waxy yellow fruit that you see in tropical fruit salads and garnishes. When you slice it horizontally, it forms a perfect little star, which is pretty much its entire brand identity. It looks completely harmless, like something that belongs in a fairy tale. But for a select group of people, this innocuous fruit can be a one-way ticket to the emergency room. Starfruit contains a potent neurotoxin called caramboxin. Now, for most people, their healthy kidneys filter this toxin out, and it's no big deal. They can eat starfruit to their heart's content. No harm, no foul. But for people with chronic kidney disease, it's a very different story. Their compromised kidneys can't effectively filter out the caramboxin, allowing it to build up to toxic levels in their blood. The symptoms of starfruit poisoning can be pretty severe. Hiccups that won't go away, vomiting, seizures, and even a coma. In the worst cases, it can be fatal. The doctors call it starfruit neurotoxicity. It's a bizarre and cruel trick of nature, a seemingly harmless fruit that's secretly a neurotoxic nightmare for a specific subset of the population. It's a perfect example of how a food can be perfectly safe for 99% of people, but a genuine danger for the other 1%. So, if you or anyone you know has kidney issues, put down the starfruit. It may be the most beautiful fruit on the planet, but for some, it's a beautiful poison. That's all for today. I'll be making similar videos in the future,